Hello, everybody, and welcome to another rotation podcast. It is me, Ashley, aka MiDNiTE and IKON, on deck tonight. Kingdom is traveling, unfortunately, so he won't be able to join us tonight, but sending him big, good, best vibes. Ooh, we had to do that this past weekend as well because we had the Minnesota ROKKR home series. Obviously, we had some fun events over the weekend, and IKON actually traveled all the way from Ohio to Minnesota to come hang out. And so it was me, it was IKON, it was producer Shannon, just in real life, literally doing live streams to get. It was so awesome. I wish Kingdom could have been there, but hey, here we were. So yeah, maybe next time he'll be able to travel up, or like maybe like something at Champs. I don't know what we'll be able to do, but I'm stoked nonetheless. I'm still like, I guess, riding the high from the ROKKR home series. You know, in-person events were back. So although the home series itself was online matches and it's still taking place online and it's still kind of like the traditional home series, we wanted to make sure that we were activating here in the Twin Cities and having a good time with it. Yo, what up, Nick Lucy in the chat? What's up, Janu? IKON, how was Minnesota? How would you rate your Minnesota ROKKR home series experience? I guess the only thing that could have made it better was if players were playing on LAN here, right?
Yeah, I think definitely would have made it better. But I will say that the last co-stream that we did live from McGovern's when we played Dallas, unfortunately didn't go our way, but it was still a really good match. I actually went back and I watched just a little bit of that footage, and I was actually pretty surprised at how easily you could hear the people in the background. Like when we were talking, so I was right side of the desk, you were left side of the desk in person. It was kind of hard to even kind of hear what you were saying back and forth.
It was tough.
Yeah, it was tough, but I knew it was loud in the place, but I didn't think that people would be able to hear like the crowd behind and when they were chanting and when they were just getting hyped for map wins and stuff like that. But it was really cool. It was cool to like hear the environments in person and then hear it on the playback. I also saw there were a couple comments here and there based off of, what people were saying and how they were cheering in the background. So that was dope. The first co-stream that we did, quick 3-0 over Seattle Surge, that was like the fastest match of all time. That was the first time.
It took like 7 times longer to set up the co-stream than it did to do it that day.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like, I don't know, a 30-minute match and it was over and it was like, all right, cool. Now what do we do? But that was my first time seeing version 1 HQ. So actually being there in person, it's really dope to walk around, see all the cool stuff, see all the different, scrim rooms and VOD review places and just the big screen to sit back and watch stuff. It was really cool seeing the place. So that's kind of how my weekend started off. And then, of course, we had the beer release over at Up Down, and then the second co-stream. And then on Saturday, was it Saturday morning? I think it was Saturday morning. Went to Pride and walked around there and saw the booth. So overall, it was a really sick weekend, and it was cool to be out. Thanks for having me. And now we're back here doing what we normally do.
Hey, look at us. Look at us. There we were at McGovern's. Yo, Shannon, put that back up real quick. Look at us. Yo, I can't believe Kingdom actually somehow made it in this picture despite not being there. That's so crazy. Yeah, that was us after the second coaster. Look at Zach Halverson in the back, producer Zach Halverson for that day. Man, it's hard to set up a stream remotely. I knew it would be. Yeah, it's hard, but I'm so glad that it worked out. I did like having the crowd in the background. I thought it was really cool. I was kind of like, it doesn't mean I feel bad because I can't go like watch and like socialize with people, but it still was really cool to just like be at like a live event again, man. Like I'm double vaxxed. Let's do this, bro. Let me feel the rumble of like the cheers or the boos. Like it was just really cool. People were turning up, and that OpTic versus FaZe match was so crazy and it went so long, and so people were kind of there, drinking, and gave us a little bit more time to get our stream ready. So it was just really hype, right? It was just super hype. Yo, big shout out to Lawler in the chat. Lawler also came into town for our events. It was amazing to see you, bud.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, it was so cool. I wonder if he's still here. He said just stop it by. Yeah, let's go, Lawler. Big ups in the chat. But man, there's so much to kind of unpack from the Minnesota ROKKR home series. I'm not quite sure where to start, so I'm going to look at the topics. There we go. ROKKR home series review. Biggest takeaways for me, And I didn't want to bring it up so soon into the podcast, but I'm only gonna do it once, Icon. There won't be definitely multiple times where I bring up the fact that I have now passed you in the prediction
All
score by
right.
5 points. I am in the lead.
Wow.
And so listen, I didn't do any predictions during Super Week back when that happened because I was super sick. Like I'm talking like I was barely like sleeping and eating. Like I was sick. So I didn't care about anything but just sleeping and eating. And those two things were very difficult. So I didn't predict. They ended up giving me, what was it, like 55 points or some type of average points for Super Week. And now my ego is still so like I need to win by at least that amount of points. And I don't know if that's possible. It's going to be pretty hard to even win nonetheless, like by that many points. But 2 upsets 2 weeks in a row has me feeling nice, bro. Any comment at this time, Icon?
Just wait until next time I talk to producer Shannon, because just for the record, we haven't had a single graphic the entire year of the score. Not one time. You take the lead, and here we go. Look, we got this nice, pretty graphic showing you on top of the leaderboard. So whatever.
I love that. I love that. That's
see
perfect.
How it is. But I will say,
perfect.
You did hit on a couple really big upsets. I thought for sure, and I'm so happy that I haven't seen anything out there with my prediction, but I thought for sure there was no way OpTic was going to end up winning that matchup over Atlanta. And you and Kingdom actually both hit on that one. So that was a great call. And the one before that, the previous week, you not only picked the upset, but you also had the map score with, it was LA Thieves over NYSL, I believe. And that was one where you just figured NYSL had been super hot. They came off the land where obviously his team wasn't there. So who knows if they would still have the same sort of hype and how they were playing before, and they did not, and you called it. So those were back-to-back huge upsets. I think those were like 40 points, right? Like 10 points for the upset, 10 points for the map. So without those, I still have a comfortable lead. But now we're down to a 5-point difference. So we got to buckle in here for these last couple weeks of predictions.
Got to spend money to make money. Or no, you got to not write checks that you can't cash in. Or no, you got to don't count your chicks before they hit. Nah, I don't know the same, but MiDNiTE is in the leaderboard. I even refer to myself as a third person. Like that's how hyped up I am about this. I'll never do that again. Listen, it's not over though, and I do not feel safe, and I feel like things are gonna get a little dicey here at the end of the year. I was surprised to see FaZe like my hope, and when I think when I talked about this prediction last week, like my hope was that, OpTic was gonna play FaZe, and they're gonna be like a little scorned, and then FaZe is gonna pick maps that maybe they're like a little shaky on because that's just what they seem to be doing lately. But then I also made the same point, which it totally contradicted my opinion prediction. But I was like, yeah, I bet FaZe is gonna come in and they're not even gonna like pick their bad or weird maps. They're just gonna come in and like dominate. So they go into like stage 5 majors and then ultimately champs, like just dominating, like a total confidence, like just total boost for them to go up into champs. And then they just picked like maps they were 50-50 on. OpTic came out hot. FaZe is still, I think, the best team in the league, but they weren't that day, versus OpTic. So, I mean, I did get a little lucky, but also maybe I'm like psychic or something, you never know. You never know.
That series was bizarre. I think it was really, I don't know, just kind of watching it as a whole, even going back and like watching. So I went back and I watched that map 5 S&D, that standoff S&D over again. Good. And it was the first time that I think I've ever seen somebody like really go after a Beezy in the first blood columns. Like you just don't see it very often. Like a Beezy is one of those players that has like a 20, 22 or 23, something crazy first blood percentage. Like he's always getting those first bloods and putting them up in like in a 4v3 scenario. They have map control, then they can kind of do whatever they want. And just watching that back, Envoy absolutely went off. He played super well. The very last round, there was actually 2 rounds, the very first defensive round that they had and the very last defensive round. So the first round and round 11, both of those, he hit mid map, and he was able to hit kind of like a minor flank, give them numbers in the round 11. He was able to stop Arcides planting the bomb to give OpTic numbers, and you just don't see it very often. It seems like, yeah, Simp is always going off, but Abizi's also going off. And I think that's kind of the ticket to beating them. We saw it earlier in the year during the Stage 2 major when it came to the Toronto Ultra. CleanX and Bance had the series kind of their lives. I mean, they were playing out of their mind. That's how they were able to win that Stage 2 major. And then we saw it just, I know it's just one matchup, it's just one best of 5, but Envoy was by far the best player in the lobby. He was like positive 16 or 18 or somewhere in there across all 5 maps. And if you can do that against the talent that FaZe has at SMG, I think that they're capable of being beat. And that's what we saw. We've now seen it twice this year, even though they're 33-5 or whatever. But if you can go off from the SMG position against them, they're beatable, but it's tough to do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because we've been talking about OpTic like all year. Is like, it feels like they're so much better individually than how they sometimes perform, or even where they're like placed in the league right now. And we kind of talked about, like, you know, when did they need to make a change? Why would they do that? What would be worth making a change or not? And they kind of prove, like, if you kind of stick through it, like, you can beat the best teams, you know, on any day. But is that repeatable? I think that's the biggest thing with any team in the league. You know, you do have like your front runners, your top 3 or 4 that are like, they're pretty, you could tell they're ahead of the pack for sure. But like, I don't know, it's just wild to me how competitive it could be on any given day. And there's a lot of like going up and down. And right now, I mean, New York Subliners is in a down right now too, right? Like, they've kind of been a little streaky all year. Then they looked really good, got second in a home series. And then Clayster takes a break, like he steps down, which is really concerning, I think. Obviously for him, I hope he's all right. But all year you kind of saw him start to crack a little bit. Like, he's such a passionate guy, you know, good or bad, super passionate. And we'd see him tweet about, you know, having a tough time, like dealing with stuff, or like having to do this all again. I think he's even before talked about like how often he's been dropped, right? Like, he won doing champs with Complexity, dropped. Went on, did amazing things with Denial, United splits up, gets on Empire, win champs, dropped. And now he's, you know, kind of had to rebuild himself. Oh, he was on FaZe for the longest time too, dropped from them, I think, eventually. Like, it's just crazy how many times he's had to kind of rebuild himself. And it's impressive how he does it every single time. Like, it's so impressive to me. And that's why I've always kind of said, like, he's one of my favorite players, because it's no other player has had to do that as much as he has. And it's crazy how well he's done with it. But it's got to take a toll, especially with the pandemic and everything. I don't know. I hope he's all right. I'm wondering if this means like he's just taking a break for like a week and then you'll be at LAN, or maybe he's taking LAN off. And then if he does that, depending on how New York looks, like, does he come back for champs? It's going to be kind of like, it's a big question mark until we actually see it develop more. No one really, I guess, knows except for him. And maybe he doesn't even know right now, like, how long he won't play. What's kind of your thoughts on that? Do you think it's good to take a break? Always, for sure, if you're feeling the burn, but like, at this time of year, like, what would be the best strategy for him to kind of come back in, you think, if he's going to?
Yeah, first off, I think that there's something about playing online COD, even, you know, after our last LAN that was in person. I know his team wasn't there for them or whatever, but it seemed like he was okay in the LAN, and he came back and playing online COD. Like, you can tell, right? Like, if you look at Subliner's roster as a whole, you wouldn't necessarily say, oh yeah, they can compete with Atlanta, they can compete with Toronto. Like, from top to bottom, they're great players, but they don't have multiple MVP candidates, really. I mean, they have the capability of playing at that level, but they just don't, it's just not what you expect to get game in, game out from that roster. So what makes them go is in between maps and in between rounds. And, you know, it's the end of an S&D round, and they cut to the cameras or whatever, and you see Clay like hyping up his teammates, calling out strats, like with a ton of energy and stuff. Like that's what makes New York able to compete with those top 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in the league. And as of late, basically the entirety of this stage 5, he hasn't really had that demeanor. And I've noticed, like, if you're watching S&D, you can go back and you can watch the VODs, but if they go down 0-1 or 1-2 or 2-3 in terms of certain S&D rounds, and they cut to like the player cams, you can just see that he didn't have the same excitement. And if it's not there, if he's not providing that to this New York squad, I think that they're going to have a tough time competing with these top 8 teams that are there and have qualified for playoffs. So to me personally, they have one more week of group play here. I think it's probably as good a time as ever to, I mean, let's just put it out there, grinding for one more week, how much is it really going to affect where you're at heading into stage 5 playoffs or heading into champs? Like, these guys have been doing this over and over. And heck, if you think about OpTic, it's basically like now this stage, they've started streaming more, playing Valorant, playing different games. There was a time during stage 3 where stage 2, stage 3, both of those where even OpTic said, okay, we're not streaming anymore. We're just going to grind and watch VODs, and that's what we're going to do. And it might have been the time period this season where they struggled the most. So now that it seems like they're back to streaming and having a bit of fun, they come out and they beat FaZe, and they're playing the best that they've played all year. They're 3-0 in Group A, probably going to end up 5-0 and win that group. And I think that's partially maybe what Clay is trying to do with New York. I know that he's not streaming and playing other games and stuff like that, but I think it's online COD. Grinding another week really isn't going to help their cause at all. So I think taking a step back and just say, okay, let's take a step back. Let's get ready for stage 5 major and see where we end up when it comes times for champs. The only thing that could be a negative surrounding this is just the fact that at the beginning of stage 5, Toronto, Dallas, and New York were all within like 10 points of that second seed. And I think at this point, New York has realized they're probably not going to get that 2 seed unless they were somehow able to go into the stage 5 major and actually win the stage 5 major, because right now they've fallen 30 points behind Dallas, 35 points behind Toronto. So they're probably not going to get that 2 seed. That was one of the storylines that I was watching, because whoever gets that 2 seed ends up getting that first round winners bracket bye. So like it's a really big jump there. It's super important to get that 2 seed if you're in contention to do that. So I think, again, with that mixed in, they realize they're probably not going to get that 2 seed. Just go ahead, take a step back, take a deep breath, get ready for champs, and then go into the grind again once that comes up.
Yeah, I just hope the break like really like refuels Clayster. He deserves to play at champs and have an impact on the team. And I definitely agree. Like, I've been watching Clay get hyped, like I said, like good or bad, like positive or negative. Like, he's either really happy or really freaking pissed and upset. And seeing that kind of spark gone a little bit, that's definitely concerning, because that's just not really who he is. He's definitely, he's that dude. And I just wonder now, with DiamondCon kind of having to sub in that position, like, who's the leader on that team? It's got to be a Seam, right? Like, they're all so young. You have Hydra, you got a Seam, you got DiamondCon, and you've got Mac. I don't know who's like that voice, who's that leader. Yep. That's in the game chat. So I mean, you're looking at it, they're what, 0-3 right now. Like, they could potentially go 0-5 in the group. I don't know. Like, who do they play this weekend? Do we know? Sorry for putting you on the spot.
I'm not sure off the top of my head. They have to play Paris and then Atlanta.
Ah, okay. Sheesh. And Paris got a dub, right? Dang.
Yeah, that was a big upset they had over LA Thieves, so that could be a tough one.
Right? Shoot. I mean, I don't even know. Like, it feels like the time of the year, like, everything's kind of settled, right? In terms of placements. I mean, there's definitely still some maneuvering. And are we able to look at the standings, Shannon? ROKKR is ahead by how much over LA Thieves in Florida right now?
20,
Oh my
I believe.
gosh. LA Thieves and Florida Mutineers tied for 7th with 200. ROKKR at 220. God dang, bro. I mean, for those of you guys that don't know, if you do not get in the top 6, when you go to champs, you start in the losers bracket. That is not where you want to be, dude, at all. With that amount of pressure and not being able to have just one series loss, you have to come out absolutely gunning. Like, that's so tough. And then you have such a long road to get into that upper bracket and obviously to win champs. So, like, it's looking rough, man. But still, like, very achievable. It's super achievable to kind of stay ahead here. And yeah, looking at New York now, who was like just a mere like 3 weeks ago, was basically tied in with Toronto Ultra, Dallas Empire for that second place spot. They just, I mean, it's smart, right? If you're gonna do it, if you have to do it, if you've got to take a break, which I think it's good to do. It's good to make sure that you take care of your mental health first above all else. It's got to happen. This is the best time for it to happen. I just hope Clay bounces back and he's all right. Man, what else came out recently? IKON, we had MVPs. Wait, I have one more thing, guys. I wanted to wait till the middle so that there was like some people here to kind of make this little announcement. All right. Now, IKON and I, producer Shannon, everybody involved, had an amazing time at the co-stream and McGovern's on Sunday. But with that being said, we are going to actually stop doing the co-stream. So no more will there be a ROKKR stream on match days on this channel where we are showing the gameplay and talking in between the rounds. What we think will be kind of a better show and just a better time for you guys is, we're still going to do the rotation every Tuesday night, 7:30 Central, but then we're also going to be doing a pre-show. And the pre-show will be live. You will still be able to interact with us and say what's up, and we'll respond. We'll probably actually respond more than we ever did during the co-streams because we were so busy watching the matches at the time, and we didn't, we weren't really on screen the whole time. So now what it's going to be is a pre-show that starts at 1:30 Central. Every Thursday before a CDL weekend, we'll be breaking down ROKKR. We've got a couple cool segments that'll be up, and we're basically turning the co-stream into a pre-show. That way, it's always on at the same time. If CDL is coming up that weekend, then there's a co-stream on the ROKKR YouTube at 2:30 on Thursday. So I hope you guys join us for that. That would be awesome. I'm excited for it. I think it'll ultimately I will miss watching the games and whatnot with IKON, but with how many in-person watch parties are coming up and how many just I think cooler opportunities that a pre-show could offer us, with cool segments, integrating more content, and kind of maybe we even have guests and make it zhuzh it up a little bit, Anyway, just wanted to let you guys know about that. We're really excited about it, so we'll see you guys on Thursday at 2:30. ROKKR doesn't play until Saturday at 3:30, I believe. Let me check that. That is true. That's true. That is true. Let's go. Friendly reminder, everybody, I am now in the lead on prediction points. All right, sorry, IKON, my bad about that. Looking at the MVP list. So MVP, what do you call it? I can't think of the word, bro.
Candidates?
Yes, thank you. And MVP candidates came out today, or was it yesterday? It was very recently.
A couple, something like that.
So this is, and I wondered who voted this. Was it well, it must not have been fans because there are no OpTic members. But I don't know who, probably the league or the coaches, maybe. I don't know. Maybe the league does it. I'm not sure, but the MVP candidates are Simp, Shotzi, Celium, Abizi, Cammy. That's pretty crazy that literally 3 out of 4 players in the top 5 MVP players are from FaZe. And I honestly wonder if Arcades is a little upset that it's Cammy over him. I don't know. I'm just joking. But, I mean, Cammy's been playing absolutely insane. He's lights out. It's insane how much of an impact he has for Toronto. So, what do you think, IKON? Did they nail these 5? Are these the 5 that you would have picked? Who are the 5 that you would have picked? I'd love to kind of know your take on this MVP list. Is it accurate? And then I guess I would love to know who you think deserves it as of right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you look at this list, I'm not sure there's anybody that's not deserving to be on the list. I don't think I would take somebody off except for maybe Shotzi, because it seems like the first couple stages, how many times, like on this podcast or whatever, have we said Dallas is not performing how they should be performing? Where is Shotzi? Like, I know he was last season's MVP, but he just, for the first couple stages, he was not putting up the numbers. He was not having the same impact for Dallas that he had a year ago. Now, with that said, as of late, I think he's back to where he was before. He's in that MVP caliber form. And it's probably the biggest reason, him mixed with Vivid. I think that's a really dangerous duo there. And I think him playing back to the way he was playing last year and the synergy that he has with Vivid, I think that's what's propelling them and why they've seemed to turn things around a bit. So I think that obviously right now he deserves to be there, but I am kind of surprised. Now, again, there's 48 players in the league, right? So you can't have an MVP potential candidate list with 10 people. I mean, you can't have a quarter of the people in like an MVP candidate list. So you have to pick 5. But of course, there's others that come to mind. The biggest one for me is probably Insight. I know he wasn't with Toronto the entire year. And we said it on this podcast, we said it a bunch, that when they dropped Methods, the big thing out there was no Zinni, no Winnie, right? Like that was what everybody was saying.
I was saying it for weeks.
Yeah. And then Insight comes in, and literally as soon as they picked him up, they win the stage 2 major. And he's probably, him and Cammy both have probably been 2 of the top 3 or 4 main ARs that we've had this entire year. So I don't know if it's a thing where like he wasn't playing the entire year, he was brought on halfway through or whatever, but I think his name probably deserves to be on this list somewhere. You could also make an argument for maybe somebody like Dashy. I know there were stages where OpTic hasn't been playing up to their standards and their fan standards and where everybody thinks that they should be playing. But there's no doubt about it, he's been their most consistent player. And let's not like, it's not like OpTic is the 9th best team in the league. If they win one more match, they're back to being the 4th best team in the league. They're going to end up top 4 by the time champs rolls around. They're going to leapfrog New York. So I think Dashy has been their most consistent player. If you look at overall stats, like if you look at kills per 10 minutes in hardpoint or any of those metrics, Dashy's usually the one that's highest from their roster. So I could see Dashy there. And then other than that, I don't know. I think that there's probably a pretty decent gap from like the top 7 or 8 to those underneath. Like you can look at, for example, the impact that Standy has had on ROKKR's roster overall. Like as soon as it was during stage 2, and I don't know if that's something that plays into it, but as soon as that move was made during stage 2, we had lost to Paris and Florida. We were 0-2 in groups. We still had OpTic and Dallas in front of us. There was no way we were going to make the stage 2 major and winners bracket. Standy comes up, puts a 1.52 on the board overall against OpTic. We win the next 3 matches, and we end up winning that group during stage 2. It was like nobody envisioned that coming true. So I think Standy has had a really huge impact. But when you look at aBeZy and Simp and Cammy, obviously Standy has had a massive impact, but they're just might not be as big of a sample size as what some of these other guys do. So I don't have a ton of arguments. I think Shotzi played pretty poor, at least not up to his standards the first couple stages. So that's probably the one that surprises me the most. But other than that, I don't know if you could have any arguments with anybody else. Anybody I didn't mention that maybe you would see on there?
I mean, I definitely agree that these 5 guys deserve to be in the MVP running. I think they all have like a really like just super strong impact on their team. I would be like not surprised or taken aback if it was Insight in for Cammy. Although I mean, the 2 of them together are why Toronto, I think, has really like turned it around and, you know, done so well this season. I would maybe, and this is just maybe I'm delusional. Okay, let me just rock for a sec. But Scumpin for Shotzi, I'd be cool with that. I think he has been
Okay.
cracked this year. Dashing too. I mean, he's played really well, but I just feel like Scump has such impactful plays when he's playing well. I mean, you could say the same about every member on OpTic, though. And you could almost say that about a lot of players in the league, right? If they're like on top of it, you know, playing really well, they're the winning factor for the team. But that's why these guys, I think, are up here because they've not only been able to do that, but they've been able to do that extremely consistently. Do you want to pick an MVP? Is that like a jinx? Or
Ooh.
I'm gonna
Sure.
like of these 5 players, my MVP, but for me, it's between Simp and Abizi. I do think that Simp has just so much. He's not only is he just absolutely cracked, but he's so smart in the way that he plays. Like you can tell his progression over the last couple of years. He plays a little. He knows when to play slow and when to play fast. I think that's super important. And him and Abizi together are literally terrified. But Abizi to me just is what takes FaZe past like the next, like they're at the top, they're at the tippy top of the mountain, and they're only halfway up till a BZ comes and just skyrockets him into space like a billionaire. Okay, like the guy's just nuts. His first blood percentage and how often he gets those, and even sometimes doesn't really get traded. Like he just does it. He's pushing the pace, and I just every time we spectate him during league matches, I'm like, geez, dude, like I literally don't understand. I've been playing Call of Duty since 2008. Okay, yes, I just aged myself. I don't understand how he plays the way he does and how he just does it so seemingly effortlessly. I think it's amazing. So I don't know. My pick would be a BZ from this list, or
Okay.
you know, my cat Simba is also the MVP too. So
Yeah.
who do you got, Icon? Who do you pick?
I think without a doubt it has to be somebody from Atlanta, right? I mean, they're 33 and
Sure.
5. They've lost 5 matches the entire year. If you give the MVP to anybody else, I feel like that is an absolute crime. But I don't know. I think ever since he showed up on eUnited, I think Simp's the best player in the world. I think he's going to be the greatest of all time. Like when you talk about championships and winnings and how much he wins and what he does on the map, I just feel like it's already a foregone conclusion to me that Simp is going to be that player. After this year, he's probably going to have 2 rings. And when you look at how long like Krim has been along the scene, and he's only got 3, and after this year, I mean, anything can happen, right? Toronto can pop off. We've seen, even in the last week, we've seen that OpTic can beat Atlanta. But overall, I just feel like who's going to beat them over the course of a champs weekend. So for me, it's Simp. I feel like if I was starting a team tomorrow and I had the first pick in a fantasy draft, I'm picking Simp. I feel like just the way that he plays the game, how smart he is. And one of the best things that he does, he hasn't even been able to do this year. Like if you just take all of Black Ops 4 as a whole and you pick out one clip, that sniping clip that he had on eUnited was like the play from that year. And it was like his first or second tournament as a pro. It's just like him sniping. He hasn't been able to do that this year. He's the best in the game at that. He can run an AR, run an SMG. He can do it all. So for me, I think it probably has to be Simp, even though I do agree, like if it comes down to certain map 5s or there's different round 11s, if you're Atlanta, you look to a BZ to be that playmaker. I agree 1,000%. Like, hey, let's do this strat. Let's be aggressive. A BZ, go do your thing, win us the map. I think that's what he does, and I think that's what he's capable of. But overall, I just feel like when it comes to making in-game calls, I know Arcides does a ton of that, but the time that Simp puts in, how versatile he is, what he's able to do. For me, my MVP is Simp, but it definitely has to be somebody from Atlanta. If it's anybody else, I'm going to be pretty furious.
Yeah, I wonder like who's voting. Like is it like, you know, peers and coaches within CDL, or is it wait, okay, dumb question. Do the fans pick the MVP in the NFL? Who picks them?
I think there is like a portion of it that's a fan vote, but in the NFL, like in traditional sports, it's like every sports writer has a vote and personalities,
What?
stuff like
I didn't know
that.
that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. So like,
cool.
yeah, different press members and stuff like that. Everybody has an MVP vote.
All right, I vote Standy. Let's go. Standy for MVP. Next year, maybe. Next year. We'll
Next
fire
year
it
for
up.
sure.
Let's go. Next year's our year. Hey, this year could still be our year, okay? We're going to champs. We've clinched it. Just gotta make sure we get in that winners bracket and vibe out. Speaking of making sure, let me not skip ahead here. CDL points, stage 5 playoffs champs outlook. Let's talk a little bit about that, just because I kind of brought it up here a little bit. I know we looked at the standings earlier, but what are the biggest like seeding implications from the current standings that you can see, and then also like depending on how things go this weekend, or even I guess at stage 5 majors, like what are the biggest swings that can happen? I mean, obviously Florida, scary, second and third fighting it out. Like what's like to come, you think, with some of these upcoming matches in terms of champ seeding?
Yeah, a lot of this I'm looking at like who still has a tough road in front of them, and how many points can they potentially get, or who can leapfrog somebody else. So looking at this, that 2 seed is super important, and I know that there's a lot more that's going to go into it than just these upcoming matches. You could have a disaster weekend and show up in the stage 5 major, and what happens this upcoming week just would not matter based on, what you do in that stage 5 major. But obviously you look at Toronto, and they right now are 3-0 in Group B, the group that we're in. But this weekend they have to play Florida, who looks like one of the best teams in the game right now. What they did to Dallas was a little bit frightening, because again, anytime that they're clicking on all cylinders, and you could say that about a lot of these top 8 squads. You could say that against LA Thieves. I mean, we've seen what they've done this stage too, but especially Florida, just because they have, if not the best, maybe the second, maybe the third best main AR flex combo in Awakening and Skies. I mean, what those dudes do on a map, it's very seldom that they get shown up and they put up like a 0.7 for a series and they get blown out. It just doesn't happen. So if you're Toronto, you have a 5-point CDL lead, and your first match is against Florida. We'll see what happens. Of course, I'll wait for predictions here. But then your second match is against Dallas. So that's a head-to-head match. That match in and of itself could end up deciding who ends up, at least at the end of group play for stage 5, who's in that second spot. When it comes to New York, they have, and it's weird to even say this, but New York has 2 pretty tough matchups. Obviously, they still have to play Atlanta on Sunday. That is a super tough matchup, and they're going to play Paris, and Paris just looked like a completely different squad against LA Thieves. I mean, that match against LA Thieves really wasn't all that close at all. And if you're looking, that NYSL is playing with a sub, Clayster's not there. Who's going to do all those intangible things that Clay does? I mean, that could be a tough matchup too. And with them only having a 10-point lead on OpTic, OpTic has to play London and LA Thieves. You got to figure it's pretty likely that those are both wins for them. So I could see OpTic leapfrogging here. Now, again, it doesn't matter too much, right? Because the first and the second seed super important. You get that first round bye in terms of the winners bracket. But after that, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all starting in the same area of that bracket. So
and you're talking about champs, right? Not stage 5?
Yeah, I'm talking about champs.
Got it.
But just like, so that's one of those reasons why, like right now, if you're New York, you're not going to get passed up by ROKKR or Mutineers or LA Thieves. Like the distance there is too much. I mean, they've got a 90-point lead over us, who's closest. That's probably not going to happen. I don't even know if statistically, if it's possible. It might be if like Minnesota absolutely went off. But if you're in that range, if you're 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th, you're starting in the same tier for champs. So ultimately, what does it really matter? So I'm looking there at OpTic probably ends up leapfrogging New York. And then the story that we've been waiting for is we have a 20-point lead on Florida. Florida right now is 3-0 in our groups. Again, we talked about that first matchup already when it came to Toronto. They have a tough matchup with Toronto. I cannot wait to see what happens there, because last time we saw Florida, like I said earlier, against Dallas, they were lights out. They looked really good. So I'll be interested to see if they can hang with Toronto, especially from the SMG position. But then it comes down to that matchup on Saturday. So if they beat Toronto, they'll be 10 CDL points behind us, and we play them on Saturday. And to me, even though Florida's 3-0, I think that they'll probably end up losing to Toronto, which will put them at 3-1. Right now, we're 2-2. So the winner of that matchup could be the third team that makes it into winner's bracket. So there is a ton of weight on that Saturday matchup.
Yeah, are you able to give me like a little explain like a 5? So we're 2-1, right? In the groups.
We're 2-2. We have one more match.
Yo, what? Man. I was there. I was literally watching all of these with you, and I can't remember our record. So we're 2-2.
Yes.
We need to be 3-2 to make it into winners. But what else needs to happen? Even if we get 3-2, there's a possibility that we don't make it. Like if we beat Florida, but who would need to like win for us to not get into winners bracket for stage 5?
Right now, Florida's 3-0. So we need Toronto to beat Florida so that Florida's 3-1. And then we need to beat Florida. So we're both 3-2, but we would have the head-to-head because we beat Florida.
Oh man. So wait, if Toronto doesn't beat Florida,
it wouldn't matter what happens in our match.
That just ruined my night, Icon. Why'd you have to say that? What? Are you serious? Come on, Toronto. Hey, listen, I talk a lot of shit about Toronto and their squirrels and how south they are of us. But I am the biggest Toronto Ultra fan this week. Let's freaking go.
I will
Ultra as fuck. Let's go.
I will say the only other thing that can happen right now, Dallas is 2-1. So if we beat Florida, and it's probably not going to happen, but if Dallas goes 0-2 this weekend, they would be 2-3. We would be 3-2. But I don't think Dallas is going to lose to Seattle. They're probably going to lose to Toronto, but they're probably not going to lose to Seattle.
Let's fucking go, Seattle Surge. You guys are the best.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, when I look at this right now, like total implications, it's just like I'm looking at the standings and seeing what's the difference between like second and third. Where are we at? How close is Florida? Is Chicago going to leapfrog New York? Like, to me, those are the most important things. And we've got one more week of group matches. So a lot of that could be determined here in the next week or so.
Sheesh. Yeah, I mean, looking at it, I definitely have anxiety. Like, I thought LA Thieves were like, those were going to be, that's the team that we got to watch out for. They're trying to nip at our ankles here as we're trying to get into the winner's bracket finish line, if you will, for champs. And now we have 2 teams to worry about because they're freaking tied. So I'm going to be going cross-eyed every weekend, looking at who's playing who. Obviously, stage 5 will indicate so much. And I'm so glad that it's on LAN again, where, you know, a lot of these implications are played at the highest and fairest level in front of fans. What?
Let's
in Arlington,
go.
Texas. I won't be at that event, but definitely if you're in the area, you should go. I highly recommend going to a Call of Duty event. They're so fun. The crowd gets into it, and it's just good. It's just a good vibe, man. It's just a good vibe. Speaking of good vibes, if you take a look at the predictions here, you know, I am in first place. I'm so sorry. I'm the worst. I'm the worst loser, and I'm the worst winner, and I'm not even won yet. I've not won. I'm just talking shit. I'm so
Shannon,
sorry.
You better not put that graphic up.
Put it up, Shannon. Come on,
Don't
producer Shannon. Who do you love more? Probably IKON.
If I come back, I'm going to tweet that photo of me being up every single day.
True, that's valid. I would do the same. But speaking of predictions, I mean, there's some implications here this week. I mean, not really for Kingdom. Sorry, Kingdom. Unless Kingdom just goes crazy, and then unless he goes crazy at stage 5, like he could like catch up a little bit. But yeah, we're neck and neck, 5 points from each other in prediction points. Let's look at the matches for this weekend and get into it. I'm even gonna predict first. Man,
no, we can rotate. You go Thursday.
We'll rotate. Yeah, we'll go. What do you do by day?
Yeah, you go Thursday. I'll go Friday.
Okay, fair enough. Thursday, New York Subliners versus Paris Legion, and Chicago OpTic versus London Royal Ravens. It's Legion, by the way. I love. Doesn't it seem like it should be Legion?
It makes me happy when you say that.
It sounds so stupid. That's why I say it. It's just making me look dumb, but I don't care. So New York Subliners versus Paris Legion. Dude, I'm gonna go crazy. I mean, maybe this isn't crazy because like New York Subliners, I don't think you would think that they would, you know, lose or they would have a problem beating Paris Legion like 2 weeks ago. I think it will be tough for them, but I mean, New York has been so streaky all year, and now they don't have Big Daddy Clay on the mic, hyping him up, telling him what to do, educating, guiding. But I do think you're going to see people step up. You're going to see Asim and Max step up, and then obviously the younger guys, Hydra and DiamondCon. I think they're going to be able to help that team get a win versus Paris Legion. So I got New York Subliners taking out Paris 3-1. I could be wrong though, because New York Subliners have not looked good this stage at all. So who knows? Chicago OpTic versus London. Who did London beat that they were fired up about? Was it New York?
I think it was New York. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right.
Well, they're about to get humbled by OpTic. It's going to be bad. I think OpTic's going to 3-0 them. I don't know. I feel like once OpTic gets into a little bit of a groove, like sometimes they'll get so into a groove that it seems like they'll stop trying. But right now, like it's the end of the year. They're in a groove. Like they're not getting out of that thing. They're slamming their foot on the pedal. And I think they'll take out London pretty easily. So who you got? What and why and how and all that?
Yeah, so this Paris versus NYSL, that's an interesting matchup just because when you saw LA Thieves play NYSL, that really wasn't close at all. That was a pretty big upset at the time. And then Paris just made LA Thieves look silly. I mean, Aqua went off. Scraps played unbelievably well in that series. And I just feel like with Zaptius, with Temp, they've found a roster where they can be a bit better. Even when Zaptius was on London, that's when London was making their streak, and then they made their roster move. And now they're just slowly but surely getting back to that level they were at. This is 9 versus 4. Is this considered an upset pick?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I think
Producer Shannon, what do you think? Producer Shannon's also the referee. Our upset. Well, maybe her in chat will decide. I mean, New York Subliners is weakened, but remember, we don't do upset picks by power rankings. We do it by standings. We've kind of set that precedent already. So I would say, yeah, it's an upset if Paris wins.
All right. Shannon says upset approved. I'm going to go 3-1 Paris here. I don't know. I think New York is struggling.
If you freaking win, I'm going to be so mad,
New York is 0-3 this stage. I don't know. It seems like they should win this matchup, but I'm going to go Paris. I think that they're feeling themselves right now. And then OpTic versus London. There's no way I'm picking this as an upset. I'm going to go OpTic also. I'll be shocked if there's any maps this weekend that OpTic lose. I think that they're flying high right now. And I think, again, anytime you get towards the end of the season, that's when you want to be playing your best COD. And I think that's what OpTic's doing right now. But I'm going to go 3. Yeah, I'll go 3-0. 3-0 OpTic over London. So.
Wait, did I say 3-0 or 3-1?
I don't remember.
Me neither. Shannon, what did I say? I think I said 3-0 as well.
All right. On to Friday. Couple, at least there, well, I don't know. There's one big matchup here. We got Toronto versus Florida, and then Dallas versus Seattle. So first one here, Toronto versus Florida. Florida's one of those squads that they just scare me. I mean, they're tough. If they show up, we haven't seen it like consistently. It's like once here they show up and they beat Dallas, and then once there they show up and they beat us, right? We haven't seen them really do it throughout the entirety of the stage, but it is possible that this is that stage for them. I just don't think it'll be against Toronto. Both of those squads are 3-0. We did have a tiny bit of success against Toronto in that map one hardpoint when we played on this stage. So I guess there is a lane there for Florida to beat Toronto, but I just think Toronto reminds me a lot of Atlanta. Obviously not quite as high of a ceiling, but they're super consistent. You always know what you're going to get out of those 4 players, and very rarely do they not show up in a big time match. So I'm going to go Toronto here. I'll say 3-1. I think they probably finish it on that hard point respawn. So 3-1 Toronto. And then Dallas versus Seattle. Our match against Seattle was the fastest match in the history of Call of Duty. I think it'll probably be similar. So I'll say 3-0 Dallas here.
I think, yeah, those are pretty good calls. I think, because we do need Toronto Ultra to win this weekend, and I want to manifest that for them, as I have done with all of my predictions recently, right, IKON? I'm so sorry. I'm the worst. I would hate me so much if I were you, and if I was listening. I'm sorry. Yo, I will win with grace if I do win, though. I don't think I'm going to win, so I'm just taking my moments right now. So Toronto Ultra versus Florida Mutineers. I think Toronto Ultra will win. 3-1. They might drop the hard point, but they'll be okay. They'll figure it out. They always do. And even if it does go to game 5, I think they'll win that. But yeah, I mean, Florida's been looking nasty. Neptune, like Florida's, what have we always said about Florida? Their ARs are so good. If they can just find like a competent sub or sub duo, then not even just competent, like just like, get there with the pace a little bit. They're going to be nasty. They're starting to get nasty. Neptune's coming to his own. It's scary. I don't want to think about it. And they are just behind us by 20 points in the standings. So let's go Toronto, Walter. Let's go. Dallas Empire versus Seattle Surge. I feel bad for Surge. It's their home series, but they are in Chalksville right now. They did not look very good against us at all, and then we proceeded to lose to Dallas Empire. So I think Dallas Empire will quickly 3-0 Surge here.
Copycat.
I can get into Saturday here. So Paris Legion versus London Royal Ravens. I do love always watching these two teams play. I don't know who's going to win this, right? Like, because London, they didn't look as good as they did with Zaptius, and they made like a 2-person change after like starting to kind of get some momentum, which was super weird. But they are, like you said, starting to claw their way back into like, being a little scary at times.
Mm-hmm.
But Paris, I mean, yeah, they're coming off that big win versus LA Thieves. I do think they'll probably lose to Subliners, so they're going to come in like hot. I think they're going to come in hot to London Royal Ravens. You like how I just put another one of my predictions into this prediction? I'm like, I swear, dude, I got the crystal ball. I think Paris has got it 3-2. It's going to be close. It's going to be exciting. Minnesota ROKKR versus Florida Mutineers. Man, I hope this match matters a lot on Saturday. If Florida loses to Toronto on Friday, I believe the winner of this match gets winner's bracket in stage 5. Is that right, Icon? That's right? Heck yeah. You're sure? You look like you're not all the way there. You're there. If they lose to Toronto and we beat them, winner's bracket ballers, okay?
Yes.
That's a lot of pressure, but I think we can step up to the plate. We have been losing to the really good teams recently, which, sucks because I really do feel like ROKKR's been like, steadily improving ever since kind of Major Maniac came back on board. Like you can tell that they're getting better each time they play. But they just still can't like fully handle the super, super rockin' teams, which is tough. But I'm going to say because we have to win it, we will. We don't have a great history of doing that, but maybe this is the weekend we can change it around, man. I'm going to go 3-2 ROKKR over Florida, maybe even a 3-1 if Standy and Attach come out spicy. Priest is beaming. Mike is getting like aces and clutches and search. It'll be crazy if they're all doing that. I think that's what I hope happens, and I guess what I'm going to predict. OpTic Chicago versus LA Thieves. Always fun to watch these teams play. You got the Hector versus Nadeshot rivalry. And then you've got like definitely a down bad LA Thieves team. Like they've had an insane year, and now who'd they lose to again? They lost to Paris and NYSL.
Yes. No, they beat NYSL. That's the upset that you got over me.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. I'm all mixed up, dude. There's been so much Call of Duty and so much happening recently that I can't I'm not nailing my matchups that are recent. They all play each other so many times as well. It gets a little confusing.
I know.
Dude, yeah. I mean, OpTic, like I said, for Thursday's prediction, I think OpTic is going to just their foot to the floor, baby, pedal to the metal. OpTic 3-1. Let's give LA Thieves a map so they don't leave or whatever. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think OpTic 3-1 is what makes sense to me. What do you think?
All right. So as I was just kind of watching all of these play out, I'm going to pick Paris over London. I think that Paris is just the better squad right now. I think that they're pretty close. I don't think that this will be a beatdown by any means. I'll say 3-1 Paris. But if my predictions are true, then Paris could end up in the winner's bracket out of Group A. Because right now LA Thieves is 2-2. I don't think LA Thieves is going to beat OpTic, so they're going to be 2-3. And if Paris beats NYSL and they beat London, they have 3 wins. They're going to make winner's bracket out of Group A. I don't know. It's weird to think about. So I do think Paris is going to win this matchup 3-1. And then we have ROKKR versus Mutineers. And I think that this could either solidify your lead or I think it could flip. Because just looking at the track record for the entirety of this year, we have not beaten Florida. We haven't even come close. When it comes to map count, we are 1-6 against Florida. The only map that we've won has been a control, and that was raid control. And that's not even one of our best control maps. Well, it's our second best control map, but it seems like Garrison is where we're trending right now. So I look at this matchup. I said it when Florida played Toronto. I think Florida is super scary, especially the way that Havoc played this last week. So I think Florida probably clutches up in that map 5. I'm going to go 3-2 Florida here, but I think this is going to be a great series. I think it's going to go back and forth. I think it's going to go map 5. I could see it be a map 5, round 10, round 11, somewhere in there. Unless, if that map 5 is Miami, hey, that could be a different outcome. Yeah. I'm going to go Florida here, partially because I got to make up this lead. And then OpTic versus LA Thieves. LA Thieves is dangerous, even though they just got smoked by Paris, which was, I don't know. I didn't expect that at all. Actually, I finished watching that match right before we went to, I think it was to Uptown. I think it was that day. I finished that match and then I left. But when it comes to this match, it just depends on what LA Thieves are you going to get. Are you going to get the LA Thieves that comes out and looks really good against New York, or the one that lays an egg against Paris? But in my mind, I think either way OpTic wins. I was just trying to see like how close is it going to be. I'll say 3-0 here. I think OpTic comes out. I don't see it in LA Thieves. I think that they're capable of beating anybody, but so many things have to go right for that to happen. So I'll go 3-0 OpTic. I really think OpTic is feeling themselves here, which brings us to Sunday. And I'll go first here because you went first on Saturday. So Sunday, LAG versus Seattle. I think LAG is the worst squad in the CDL right now. I mean, it's tough to say, but every time they play, they're not getting the production they need from their SMGs. Mental seems like he's going to need more time to get up to par. And how can you blame him? I mean, he's had like 3 matches or whatever. I mean, it takes longer than that to really get in the swing of things, especially when you only have the top 48 players in the world. So I think Seattle wins this. I'll say 3-1. I think the S&D probably goes to LAG. Atlanta versus New York. This is going to be a hot 3-0. I would not want to play Atlanta this weekend. I think that they're going to be trying to right the ship. I think it's going to be ugly. I could see a 100-point club in the hard point. So 3-0 Atlanta, and then another big matchup, Dallas versus Toronto. For Dallas, I don't know. I mean, it's always so inconsistent, right? It's like one time they'll play, like, for example, against us, and they looked great. And then when it came to Florida, it just didn't look like they could hang against the Mutineers. And it's just like, which Dallas are you going to get? I still think that Toronto's the better squad. And there's always this thing where if it goes to the control, Toronto's probably not going to win a control. They went like 16-0 over a course of 16 matches in control. They're disgusting at control. So you're probably not going to beat them on map 3. And they're the second best S&D squad in the game outside of Atlanta. So if you're playing the statistics here, they're probably going to win map 3. They're disgusting at hardpoint. They're the second best S&D team. Like, where are you going to find the wins that you need? The only team that can really stack up to them statistically is Atlanta. I don't know. I just don't see Dallas able to do it, at least not online. Of course, we know what happened when they played in the Stage 4 Major on land, but online, I just think it's a different story. So I'll say it goes map 5, but I think Toronto clutches up. So 3-2 Toronto to end group play for the year. This would be it.
Oh, dude, it is the last group play week of the year.
It is.
Yes, dude. Oh, I just got so excited when you said that. Let's go. I'm hyped, baby. I love the pictures. Dude, LAG versus Seattle Surge. This is the matchup I've been waiting for, baby. 11th, 12th, fight. Let's go. Who's the worst? Who's the best of the worst? Let's find out funny. On Sunday, man. Listen, Delusional MiDNiTE coming out. Also, Fangirl of Mental MiDNiTE coming out. He's just such a good guy. Mental's a good guy.
Uh-oh.
I don't think he's in the proper system. I don't know what's going on with Gorillas. I think Silly and Assault are better than they've shown. Same with Apathy. I'm not sure what the problem is over there, but I think they're going to figure it out. by Sunday when they play Surge. I think Surge is just so like they play so isolated and for themselves, which at this point, like, do you blame them? No. LAG, come on, man. This is your time. Don't be the worst. I'm predicting LAG 3-2 over Seattle Surge, even at their own home series. I'm sorry, Surge. And you know what, Surge? This is for all the times I did predict you guys to win and you didn't. And I'm sure now that I haven't, you will win. So, frick. Atlanta FaZe versus New York Subliners 3-0. No contest. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Dallas Empire versus Toronto Ultra. My goodness. I think, yeah, safe to say these two teams are already in. Well, actually, no, because if Dallas loses to Surge somehow and then loses to Toronto Ultra, they could potentially not make the winner's bracket for Stage 5, but I just don't see that happening. So anyway, I do think, I think this match on Sunday will be stacked. Dallas Empire versus Toronto for some better seeding at Stage 5 Major. I do think Ultra is the better team. So yeah, I'm a big Ultra fan this weekend. We need them to beat Florida, and I think they'll beat Dallas Empire 3-1. So that's where I'm at with it. Probably Dallas Empire will win now that I have the leads and predictions. You know, it's probably just what's going to happen. Dang, I'm putting this bad juju out in the world. I need to stop. Listen, it's probably not going to happen. I got this. I get a big head over 5 points, bro. Have you seen me? Have you seen my ego? I can't even fit it on screen today.
We had, I believe, 3 different matchups there where we were different. So map counts, a lot of the map counts were different, but there was the Paris NYSL. You picked NYSL. I took Paris. There was the ROKKR Mutineers. You took ROKKR. I took Mutineers. Ooh. And then the Seattle Surge LAG matchup. I took Seattle. You took LAG. So, oh boy, this could either.
This will make or break either of us, I think. I mean, obviously, Stage 5. Well, because we do the Stage 5 like tournament predictions like day after day, so we'll still get a bunch of points on the line during the tournament. But yeah, this is the last like swing week, dude. This is a big deal for our prediction race. I hope Kingdom does still predict. I do want to see what he thinks and who he thinks he's gonna come out on top or not. But yeah, man, I love that we've tracked them from day one. Shout out producer Shannon. Yeah, dude, it was so awesome to see both of you up in Minnesota for the home series this past weekend. It was amazing. It was Agreed. Shannon, show the picture one more time if you can. Look at us. Look at us at McGovern's in St. Paul at the ROKKR watch party. Sorry, Shannon. I just cued her and she wasn't. There we go. My bad, Shannon. I cued you. You weren't ready. Yo, look at Kingdom in the back. That's crazy. That's crazy. We didn't Photoshop him in at all. He looks hyped to be there, bro. Nah, but yeah, that's the rotation crew right there. We'll be back next Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, as always. Hopefully Kingdom will be back. And now it's like the end of the year, man. I want to have let's get some lit guests. Like, let's get a player on or something, especially around champs. That'd be so cool. I'm going to talk to the guys about doing that. Who do you have a preference for a player? ROKKR player?
Whoever. Bring them on.
Whoever. Bring them on. All right. The next time you will see us, guys, is, definitely the rotation will be back Tuesday night, 7:30 Central, like I said. But the next time you'll see IKON and I will be for the Minnesota ROKKR pre-show. It's going to be a good time. Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, about a half hour before the CDL stream starts. We'll be chatting more about Stage 5, the matchups, get more into the nitty-gritty, and show you guys some cool content along the way. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you next time.